and a very good evening to all. We are back with another live session on the official Instagram handle of Lovely Professional University. And this is Ankita Saxena, your host for today's episode of Unscripted Moments, which is organized by United Nations Youth Community under the aegis of Division of Student Welfare, Lovely Professional University. So before I proceed further, I would like to know if I'm clearly visible and audible. Hi everyone, I can see a lot of people are joining in. Hi. Hi UNYC organization has joined us. Then a lot of people are still joining in. So again, I would like to ask if I'm clearly visible and audible to all of you. Great. Well, that's really a quick response and I appreciate that very much. Also, I hope that you all are doing good and staying safe at home. Hi, Avik. Yeah, great. So, since people are writing that they are good and they're doing fine and they're responding positively, so it's really good to hear. And so I would be asking who is our guest for today's episode. So I would like you all to kindly guess and write down the name of the guest in the comment section so that we know the excitement. Yeah, okay, great. So, hi Vishwas, hi Raghu, hi Rahul. I hope that you all are vaccinated. Bobby Joshi, yes. Somebody wrote that the guest is Bobby Joshi. Yes, the guest is Bobby Joshi only. And you know who he is? He is, I would say, he is an artist of his own world, who is a traveler, who is a photographer, who is a nature lover, and whatnot. And do you guys know what is the best part? The best part is that he is one of the top 50 influencers. Yes, you heard it right. Top 50 influencers who has been influencing more like thousands of minds. So great. Vaccinated. Wow, great to hear that. So since I've already introduced the guest, so without further delay, I would like to add him, and very soon all of us are going to interact with none other than Mr. Bobby Joshi. So let me add him. Until then, I would request all the people who are available and who are watching us on the official Instagram of Lovely Professional University to kindly write down in the chat box that if you are one of the aspiring photographers, or if you like to travel, if you like to explore, then meet different people, and yeah, if you are the person, somebody like that, then please write down in the Okay, so I can see a lot of people are asking that when the university is going to reopen. Oh, hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am great, sir. So, first of all, we would like to welcome you to this official Instagram handle of Lovely Professional University.
My pleasure.
And also, we would like to know how were your lockdown days and how have you been?
Pretty good. Lockdown days, are always challenging and difficult. Hopefully, that's all behind us now, and let's see. I mean, how the future holds. But yeah, the lockdown days were one of the most frustrating times. I'm sure not just for me, but for everyone. And I'm just glad that it's over, and I hope it doesn't come back.
Yeah, since you said that it had been challenging for you, so would you like to share those challenges with us as well?
Okay.
As a
So,
photographer, what challenges did you face as a photographer? Yeah.
all right. So, see, my kind of work requires me to be traveling all the time. I mean, because I'm a nature and travel and landscape photographer. So, being at home in the lockdown time clearly means that I'm not able to do what I intend to do or I want to do, right? Now, if you are a serial traveler, the way that I've been for the last several years, probably close to about a decade and a half, so it's about 15 years now, it just makes you very restless. So there are two or three challenges. One is that you're itching to really, get on with life and do things. And then second is that you are mindful of the fact that you have to be home, you have to stay safe, and you ensure that everyone around you is safe. And especially in the lockdown times, you can't take a chance and then go out and, create any kind of contrary messaging to all the followers and public. So on one side, you have to keep your creative juices flowing, and on the other side, you know that you're not able to execute on creative juices. So one of the things that I did a lot during the lockdown times was to really hone in my other skills. So I did whatever I could in terms of, I think I took like 2 or 3 classes that I wanted to learn with people. Then I did learn new skills and new techniques and new tools that is required in my everyday work, which I was missing for the last 2 3 years because of constant traveling and the work. So in a way, it was a good pause. It allowed me to focus again on things that I wanted to do. It allowed me to acquire and learn new skills, and hopefully that's going to get executed in the coming months now.
Yeah, that's the best part. We got enough time to, learn new things that we couldn't.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely. And since we all know that you are basically famous as a photographer. So first of all, our viewers would like to know how this journey began and then how this journey got acceleration and all those things, like the story, the brief of your story.
So I want to make clear that it's don't use the word famous. The way I always say this is that I'm into photography for a long, long time now, and there are a handful of people around India and around the world who kind of follow my work or who know of my work. So in that circle, I guess people know that the kind of work I do, but don't use the word famous. It's a misnomer. But the
Okay.
journey began a long time ago. So I've said this several times. My dad was in the army and forces, so we used to get transferred every 2 to 3 years. So I took about 14 or 15 different institutes to finish my education. But during those times, I got to travel around India and around. So and the places that he was posted to were always outposts. So we had opportunities to live in Northeast, we had opportunities to live in remote North India, and so on and so forth. So I was always very
I guess
father
there's
and
some
mother side,
technical
but
glitch
also
on
my
your side,
destinations. One
sir.
of them were based in Almora, Nainital, and the other one were based in Shillong. So every summer vacations would be either here or there. All of that kind of worked into in itself into me, and that's the life I've known, right? I've lived and grown in places like those. So understanding, appreciating, and loving nature was always a part of me. And as I grew up, fortunately, from my first job to the very last before I moved full time into photography, always required me to travel. Initially, for the first 3 4 years, 2 to 3 years, it was around India, and I actually got to travel across the length and breadth of India. So from north to south and east to west, literally almost every important city in India, I think I've probably visited it. And then during my second phase of career, I got into global roles. So that allowed me to travel around the world, from US, from Europe to Australia to Far East, all of those. So it just continued to grow. And I was also fortunate enough to get into photography in mainstream social media when there were not too many people around. So I think I started Facebook around 2011. My page on Facebook started 2011. I got late into Instagram. But then what happened was back in 2012, 13, 14, 15, there were not too many photographers around. And so that early break or early into photography and social media helped me to grow relatively quicker than people today grow. And then obviously over the period of time, the fact that I got to shoot some beautiful locations around the world only added to the fact that my body of work today has those, has pictures from those places. So that's how it began, and that's how it continued. And then in 2016 to 18 was the time when I was contemplating moving full-time into photography. It was time I was consulting with a firm. And then I was also dabbling into understanding if I can move full-time into photography. So in 2016, we started a company called Good Shots Photography Private Limited. And then that's to do everything with photography, photography learning, photo tours, workshops, blah, blah. And then 2018-19 is when I started to give more and more time to photography, and then I moved completely into photography today. So currently, my entire life is only around photography. I moved out of corporate world, moved out of consulting, moved out of tech world, all of that. So that's the gist of my journey.
Yeah, I got that. But I have a little doubt. What was that? Is it a corporate world or IT world? Like who are you?
Oh,
Like
okay.
what?
Yes,
Yeah,
I started off with the tech world, but I'm not a techie. I've always been in
yeah.
the roles like strategy, consulting, transformation, change management, alliance management, and stuff like that. So that was when I was working for firms like Ingram Micro. I was working for Dell, EMC,
IBM.
IBM. Yeah, I've worked with all of those. And then towards the end of my so-called corporate life, I moved into consulting, which was strategy consulting and strategy execution, which was a non-IT but consulting firm where I was for about 2-3 years, following which I did freelance consulting or consulting of sorts, again for strategy. And that was the last phase before I moved into photography. So both tech, corporate, and then photography.
Yeah, great. Well, that was a very long journey, and it was really good to hear about the entire journey. And I was going through one of your interviews. There, I found that you told that you got the camera right from the time when you were in grade 7. Is it
Yep.
correct?
Yes. So
So at that small age, how did you get that like camera of your own? So was
I
that
think
allowed?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate enough. My dad has dabbled in photography. He was not big time into photography, but he had the Yashica Rolex camera, the one you would
Yeah.
see from the top, and then kind of
Yeah.
do the clicking here and then take the pictures from the top. He had that camera when I was, I think, in grade 1 and 2. So we've had cameras since then, and then he sold it off. I think around when I was in grade 5 or 6, and I was very upset about it later on because it was like a collector's item. When I was in grade 7, 8, I think it was 7, my mom bought first Kodak camera. It was obviously bought for the family. It wasn't bought for me, but because I was the older, in the family, I just owned it. And my sister wasn't into photography. So it just naturally came to me, and I
Came to
kind of,
you.
yeah, so just took over.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way.
Yeah, got it, got it. So since you told that you got a lot of opportunities to travel around India, then the world. So how has been your traveling experience then? Would you like to share any instance from your traveling that like or any place where you just left your heart and you're like this place has my heart. Any place like that?
It's not going to be one place. I'll tell you what. I have answered this in one of my recent interviews. See, the thing is that, as a photographer, you can do two kinds of photography. Let me put it this way. One is where you are an impartial photographer who is witnessing what's happening in front of you. So that could be street, could be wildlife, it could be landscape, travel, any genre, okay? And then the other one is where you get emotionally involved with what you're shooting. So you become a part of the whole thing that is unfolding in front of you, and you emotionally invest into that. Now, what happens with the first one is what comes out as an impartial photographer come witness to the whole scene is you document the whole thing, and it could be technically very correct, right? So nobody can say that, hey, your photography is flawed, or you're not following this rule, or you're not doing that thing, and so on and so forth. To me, that is something that I see in a lot of photographers, especially the new age photographer. It's very easy to get carried away and not invest yourself emotionally into the scene that you want to shoot. And so what happens is that the end result of those kind of work are pictures which lack the human emotions, and it doesn't incite or evoke a response from your viewer. The other kind of photographers, and there are a lot of them, when you see their work, you feel what they have shot. You become a part of the whole frame. So I've always said that I don't shoot what I see. I shoot what I feel. So every time I'm in a place, if I don't connect with the place, then what's going to come out is just going to be a documentation of where I was, what I did, what I saw. So every time I'm in a place and I want to really do a good job of photography, then I need to emotionally invest in that place. And every time I emotionally invest in that place, moving away is always going to be challenging. And that happens every single time. I just got back from Kabini today. It's a wildlife resort, wildlife safari place in Karnataka. Yes, you're right. And we were there for 4 days. Coming back today was hard. Saying goodbyes to all the people in Kabini today was difficult. People who have hosted us and have taken us around for the last 4 days. Before this, I was in Kashmir for about 2 weeks in Srinagar. And we were hosted by some amazing people there. Coming back again from there was very hard. So I think that I leave a bit of my piece of heart everywhere that I go. And I don't know how much of that is left now. But having said that, there are some places which will always have a very special place in your heart, right? A place which always, you think of the place and your heart warms up, or you want to like kind of go back there again and again. Not just for photography, but for the whole experience. And there are such places that really gets me, what do I say? Interested?
Touched.
Yeah,
Yeah,
touched,
okay.
interested, invested, whatever we call it. So it's very hard for me to name places because I think we've got viewers from around India, and I don't want to polarize, saying that I love this part and I don't like that part. But yeah, there will be places close to my heart. But having said that, please understand that every place that I go, I just love it. If I don't fall in love with the place, you will not see pictures coming out of that really good. So even if there is Jodhpur, Jaipur, Jaisalmer, Pushkar on one side, western side, or if it is Kerala, Tamil Nadu in south, if it is Goa or Karwar or Devbag in west, Kolkata in east, right? These are the places that I would like to think that I've done a work which people will hopefully at some point in time kind of recall, if not remember. And that happens, I think that really happens when you put yourself in that place and become a part of that place. Does it answer your question?
Yeah,
In a
surely it
politically
does.
correct way, without naming the place.
Okay. Well, I was really impressed with your answer, and would like to say that that it's really amazing, very amazing that anywhere, every place is significant, and that's what the amazing thing about Mother Earth. You go any of the places, and you'll fall in love for sure
Yeah.
because every time you're going to explore something different,
Yeah.
meet different people, and all those things.
Yes, you're
And
right.
all
And
those,
let me
yeah,
let me add something here. That doesn't
yeah,
just apply to India; it applies around the world. So even if I've traveled to China, where I didn't speak a word in Chinese, or Indonesia or Vietnam, where it's equally hard to speak language, or take Europe. I mean, people in Spain or Italy wouldn't speak English, or France wouldn't speak English. But I will tell you this: that there are some universal language that people around the globe understand. And if only we understand and appreciate that more, the connectivities will be a lot easier. Now, for example, smile is always a standard way to greet someone, right? You smile at someone,
obviously.
they will smile back at you. And that applies to anywhere in the world you go, whatever language you speak. You wave your hand or you say hello, it's a universal language, right? Even if the person doesn't speak second word in English, the first word he will know is hello. Second word he might know is bye or goodbye. So those languages are universal, right? You don't have to speak the language to really connect with people. I mean, even in India, I can really barely get by with broken Bengali when I'm in Bengal, a little bit of Nepali here and there when I'm in Northeast, but I can't speak a word in Dravidian language in South. I can't speak anything in Western India, Marathi, Gujarati, anything. But every time you're there, you just kind of connect.
Yeah, definitely. So, taking this session forward, I would like to ask about the experience or the feeling that you got when you got to know for the first time that you are listed under the top 50 influencers.
Okay,
So, how was
so
that experience?
let me tell you this, that was
Yeah.
this thing is a moving thing, all right? There is no standard static list that works. The year that this happened, I think, was 2018, if I remember correctly, or was it 2019? I'm not sure. And it was done by one of the magazines. I think it was Exhibit, and they did it for the I think for the first time. And for photography, they picked my name. Though I will say that that list since then has moved on. But having said that, I don't. Influencing is not an active state of trying to make something happen. All right, it's not something that you tell people to do. Influencing to me is a byproduct of what you do. You do it at a level of excellence, and then people relate, appreciate that, and they think they can do it too. To me, influencing is really the art of inspiring. Now, if I say I'm an influencer, and if I say that, to me, that's extremely derogatory, because who has designated me to call myself an influencer, right? If people follow me, it's not because I'm drumming about the fact that, I do this, I do that, I like this, I like that, or I am telling you, go do this and go do that, or buy this or buy that. All I would ever do or say is, hey, listen, this is what works for me. I'm not sure what will work for you, but this is what works for me, and this is how it works for me. You're going to figure it out at the end of the day what works for you. So there's no one size that fits all, correct? And influencing comes with a lot of responsibility. So it's not so much about what you do to influence people. It's the responsibility that comes with it on things you shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be leading with, that you don't want to set as the example. So that's why I'm a little shy about the whole fact that you're an influencer. I'm a photographer who does a very specific thing, and there are things that has worked for me, and I'd like to share that experience. But I would always encourage people to draw their own conclusions. So I try to stay, I don't try and talk about brands. I don't try and talk about products. I don't try and compare products. I don't do reviews. I don't do all of that. If somebody asks me which is the best camera, I don't know, but I use this model. This is what has worked for me. I can share with you my experience on that model. The rest it is up to you. Go read blogs, go do your own research, go do your homework. You have questions, I'm happy to answer, but that's about it. Okay?
Got it. Absolutely got it. So, our next question is, see this. See, everybody of like a lot of people like photography, and most of us want to get clicked, and we like to, to see photos and everything. But how do you see this photography as a full-time career? Is it risky? Would you call it risky or anything like that?
Yeah, so a lot of students, I think, probably would be online at this point in time. Let me take a step back. Photography,
Yeah.
just like any other career, requires its own grind. All right, it has an entry level. It has a plateau where you will probably reach at some point in time. It has its own peaks. It also has its own troughs, and then there, at some point in time, will be an exit as well. The thing with photography is, because the entry barrier to becoming a photographer is extremely low and easy, people think it's a very easy career to choose. Let me put it this way. There were times when India was churning out lakhs and lakhs of engineers, right? And lakhs of doctors. But to be on the top 10 doctors whose name is well known and famous in your area, city, town, wherever you live, requires years and years of practice and that kind of reputation. The same thing goes for an engineer. Not all, or if you're in finance or if you're in business, not everybody becomes a Mark Zuckerberg or a Steve Jobs. There are millions of other business people, finance people, and so on and so forth. Just like that. Understand, because the entry-level barriers for photography is easy, the career itself isn't easy. To get into photography and then to be at a top 10, 20, 30% in India in your genre of photography will require that hard work, grind, and everything else. So just taking pictures is not photography. Photography as a career requires a whole lot of things. It requires you to understand business. It requires you to understand people skills. You need to be really good in managing people, because people will give you business, right? You're not going to be just standing in a place with a camera and people are just going to say, okay, you're a great photographer, come click me, I'll pay you. No, it doesn't happen. You've got to sell yourself. So when it comes to selling, you need to be a good salesman. You need to be a good marketing person to really be able to market yourself. You need to understand finance. You might work on a good project, but the company says if you work with that, listen, my payment terms are 120 days from a time that you deliver me pictures. 120 days is 4 months. You might not even sustain, whereas your investment in photography is right up front. So taking pictures is one part of it, but photography as a career is a whole lot of other story. And I would always recommend that if you're thinking of, or if you're seriously considering photography as a career, then weigh your pros and cons. You need to know that you can't just be clicking pictures or taking pictures, but you need to be doing that at a level where people really, really understand what you're doing, and that you have what it takes to be in the top 10, top 20. All right. Be realistic, be honest to yourself. Just because as I said, just because I'm an engineer doesn't mean that I'm going to invent the next Apple or the next Samsung. Or just because I'm in business or I'm doing an MBA doesn't mean that I'm going to be, as I said, Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or, whoever, Tesla. So I think my advice will be that because photography is a very unorganized sector in India, there are not many people who will give you a job. This profession will not give you salary. This profession will also not give you provident fund when you retire. So you got to really plan this out very well. You need to have a plan B. I would, in fact, go to a point of saying that I have seen a lot of youngsters in 20s, early 20s to mid 20s who've had relatively easy get into the photography for whatever story they've had to sell. The question is that's when you're successful in 2025. What are you going to be doing at 30, 35? Can you reinvent yourself? Can you create a legacy for yourself that is going to pay for your next 40 years? Because that's a different story. At 25, you can travel in train, you can travel in bus, you can share an accommodation with 5 people, you can get by earning 50,000. But when you're 40 and you have 2 kids or 1 kid, and you have a wife and a family to support, what's your plan? So your investment in photography as a career at 25 should be so long lasting and should have such a far out vision that at 50, this is the legacy you will have. That either you will create a body of work which will distinguish yourself in your field, and people would say that, that's who I want in this project, or that's the kind of photographer I want for my project. If you don't have what it takes, then have a plan B. That's what I would say. Sorry, there's a fluctuation happening in my home, so that's going on. I don't know if I'm going dark.
But that's completely okay.
What is my plan B? Ashutosh has asked me. Let me just answer this. Ashutosh, my plan B is not now. My plan B was when I was working with corporate and tech world. So at that time, I started to dabble with photography as a potential career option. And I'll tell you, at what point in time did I think that I can kind of break out and get into photography? When my income so let me put it this way, after years and years of corporate and tech world, and I have an MBA in marketing as well. So I've had a formal education. I've worked my butt off for years. When my photography started to give me 1:1 earning of what my corporate world was a time that I said, okay, this is a good time to move out. Because if I am not at that level, then everything I'm going to be doing is going to be a compromise. And I could compromise for a short term, right? 3 months, 6 months, maybe. But as I said, the vision I've always had when I got into photography was, what am I going to create for myself that's going to pay for me when I'm 50, 60, 70. If I don't, then we have a problem. Okay, hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, I hope that the viewers have got whoever asked this question got his or her answer. And then my next question is that I was going through your stories, and there I found that you talk about Instagram engagement and how this Instagram work and how this engagement works in this digital era and how important it is. So would you like to throw some light on that and tell us about that?
Okay, I'm going to answer that in a bit, and I think I'm going to come back to you with a clarifying question on that. But Avantika Rai said, don't you think plan B distracts us from being an ambitious person? Ambition, a blind ambition is not going to lead you anywhere. Ambition is more like an aspiration. It's like a dream, all right? Now, it's important to have an ambition. It's important to dream. It's important to have an aspiration. If you don't have that fire in the belly, you're not going to give your best in what you're doing. In the bigger scheme of thing, the ambition should be to be an ace photographer in whatever you want to do. That's your big goal. Everything else has to work around it. So please understand, your plan A has to be the fact that you want to be an ace photographer at a certain juncture in your life. Plan B is what will sustain you till you become that. Avantika, I hope you get what I'm saying. So plan B is not a distraction, it's an addition, in addition. So let's put it this way. If I'm going to be hiking from the base of Mount Everest to Mount Everest, it's a height of 8,848 meters, if I remember correctly, give and take a few meters here and there. You cannot say that I'm going to climb the summit in one go. You have to have breaks. You have to stop and recuperate and get your act together and then move on. Those are your stops, which are plan Bs. The plan A is to get to the top. So your plan A has to be photography, and you shouldn't get distracted from that. Plan B is what will sustain you till then. Having said that, now coming to your question, you're asking me about what I discussed about Instagram engagement a few days ago. But my question back to you is, what are you looking for? Because people here on this call, I don't think care about Instagram engagement, or do they? I mean, I'm a little confused.
Yeah, see, a lot of viewers who have joined us are from Lovely Professional University, and they are trying to build engagement of their organizations and like through social media. So in that way, for them, it is somehow important to know about this and how this engagement works, and and the era has somewhat changed, and the business and everything is online, and we're using
Yeah.
social media a lot here. So that's how it becomes important to know. So we wanted
Okay.
to know
So
it.
let me put it this way.
Context.
Instagram
Yeah.
was started by someone owned by Mark and is owned by Mark Zuckerberg. The head of Instagram is Adam Mosseri. But I don't think even they understand the way Instagram algorithm works. Okay. What I shared the other day was the way Instagram is evolving in this time, and the way it is going to evolve in coming, I guess, months and years. So let me demystify something very obvious. There is no way you can game Instagram engagement. You can't. If you think you can be a step ahead of Instagram and game the system and outgrow it, no, you can't. Let's be clear. Also, second point, Instagram is in this business to make money. They're not doing a social work. Now, if Instagram is not able to make money off you, then you won't grow. Third point, if you're making money off Instagram, then Instagram wants a piece of that. If Instagram doesn't get a piece of that, then you can't get the piece of that, right? So it's all very symbiotic. Problem with people is they think that they want to grow in Instagram, they want to make money off Instagram, but they do not want to invest in Instagram. And to me, that's a mystery I can't solve. I mean, let's be really clear. If this is a platform that gives you a certain income, and in return it asks you for something that will help you to grow and proliferate and multiply and create a bigger community, then you have to understand, one, that you need to respect that. You don't try and find cheat sheets on what can you do. So if you're starting a business on Instagram, there are some basic stuff you got to do, right? There are millions and millions of brands. What are you going to do to make your brand stand out? If you think just by posting great or creating great posters, you're going to reach your millions of users or consumers, it's not going to happen. Instagram provides you a platform to reach them. Instagram provides you strategies to reach there. Instagram provides you means and ways to get there. You got to play that to get there. All right. There will be Instagrammers, and I will call that Instagrammers, who will have a certain kind of growth, which is maybe skewed compared to the rest of the community. So they will probably outgrow an average Instagrammer. But that's not because they have gamed Instagram or they understand what works in Instagram. Because as I said it before, nobody can really predict that. The reason some people grow faster than others is because they create the kind of content which is mass consumed and is loved by all. Now, if you can do something like that, great, do it. But if you can't, then you have to understand and play within the system. For example, I said this the other day. Instagram is really onto Reels. That's the reason for that is we think Instagram is taking on TikTok because that's a big business. So if Instagram is taking on TikTok, please understand, it's a business decision that Instagram as a corporation is making. So it is aligning, it is its strategy to take on TikTok. That's a business strategy. Now, you got to fall in line with that business strategy and align yourself the way Instagram is going. So if Instagram wants to take on TikTok, Instagram is going to promote Reel, which means people who create Reel are going to get automatically promoted because they are focusing on Reels. Now, if you can sing, dance, and create those kind of reels that people love, go ahead, do it. If it takes creativity, people love it. Or if you're a stand-up comedian, you are I don't know, a chef, people want to learn your recipes, go ahead, do it. As a photographer, that's not maybe something I can do. I can do a part of it, may not be the entire thing. So to the people who are thinking about growing their business on Instagram, I would say that take maybe not one or two, but take a whole lot of step back and look at Instagram as a platform, study it. It is a combination of social strategy, it's a combination of digital marketing, it's a strategy of reaching out and finding out the right audience. It is about creating the like collaterals and marketing material that is going to go out. It is about targeting the right people that is going to give you business, and then figuring out how you want to go about it. But there's a very classic saying, no marketing, no sales. I'm sure you guys, lovely professional universities, you got a lot of management courses. I'm sure this is something you must be learning. So don't think you can grow your sales without doing marketing. And marketing requires dollars or rupees. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that the viewers, like a lot of people, before this session began, asked me to ask about this particular thing. And I hope that the viewers got their answer and it is going to help them a lot. So, taking the session forward, I would like to ask a question related to photography. So, I just wanted to ask, like, how far editing is important when you yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
that's
So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so photography has clearly two distinct parts, right? One, I've always again said this over and over again. One, which requires you to go out on the field and execute on your vision. So that's to do with working with hardware. So that's your cameras and tripods and lenses and filters and whatnot. It is where you need to understand how you compose stuff, how you tell your stories, how you follow the rules in photography, how you work on color theory, a whole lot of things, right? How do you really see what you want to show? Let's put it this way, 10 people go to a place to shoot a scene, all 10 people will take different shots. The reason for that is because 10 people will see different things, correct? Now you need to, again, to my previous point that I was saying, if you're going to be a top 10% in photography in India or anywhere in the world, then you need to be showing the world in that very unique way that other people are not able to show. So which means you have to still rise above. And that only happens when you work on being more creative all the time. So that's one part, where you're going out on the field and working on your hardware and creating those pieces in your camera. Second part of this photography is where you come back and you create the final piece of art. Now, most people don't understand, and that's the problem with a lot of amateurs. And I think the bigger problem is the mindset that anything that requires processing is fake. I think it's a huge, huge misnomer, all right? Camera, all said and done, even the most expensive cameras are dumb devices. They do not have intelligence. Let alone intelligence, they don't even have AIs. At best, they have pre-configured scenes that you can dial in and take pictures. But that's not photography. Photographers are the ones who do everything manual, which means I'm going to set my white balance in a manual way. I'm going to set my aperture in a manual way. I'm going to set my shutter speed in a manual way. My ISOs are going to be manual. The moment you move into manual, then camera becomes extremely dumb. It's going to do exactly what you've set, not more, not less. So if you've set a shutter speed, which is 1/30 seconds, and you're trying to capture an animal on the run or a move, you're going to get a shaky animal because your shutter speed was too low. Cameras are going to tell you, hey, listen, Mr. or Miss, I think your shutter speed is too low to click that animal. You're going to move it up to 1/500. It's not. You set it up 1/30, it's going to click at 1/30. So with that, there's a serious constraint in what camera will capture. It's a combination of the settings that you have applied. It's a combination of the settings you might have applied but not have changed. So at the end of the day, invariably, camera will get fooled in a lot of situations. If you shoot early morning, late evening, everything is blue. But is that how it is? We call it the blue hour, but the reality is, even if it is blue, a white will remain a white. A yellow will still look like yellow. But in a digital photo, a blue hour, if you do not do the right white balance correction later, everything is going to look blue. Now, it's debatable. What is right? The camera shot everything blue because you did not set the right white balance and therefore everything is blue. The debate that people have, amateurs will have is, but that's what my camera shot. And my argument to that is, sir, then you should have been intelligent enough to fix it. Because camera can only do that much, right? That's one. Two, human eye has a dynamic range, which is in numbers, it goes to about 24, 25, 26, 27. If you Google it, it's a fact, right? The human eye dynamic range is about 25. At best case scenario, the best of the camera's dynamic range is about 13 to 14. So there's a huge difference in the stop of lights that a human eye can see versus what a camera can see. So you will find those challenges and difficulties when you bring those raw files onto your laptop or desktop and you look at them. You will need to correct saturation levels, contrast levels, white balances, highlights, shadows, a whole lot of stuff. In reality, something that I see sharp. So if you're in front of me, I will see your specs sharp, I can see every strand of your hair sharp. In my photos, it might not be as sharp as what my eyes see. So now, is camera right? Is your specs not sharp? Are your hair strands not sharp? Or do you need to come back and correct those? So processing is a part of that too. It is about correcting everything you've shot and either shot it wrong or it just needs correction because camera has a limitation on what it can shoot. That's the second point. The third point is taking a step further, which is creating a final piece of art that people can relate with. Now again, how much is too much is personal, all right? And within photographers, there's always a debate saying, where do you stop post-processing? And there is a fine line between being good and then being over the board. But I will also say this, that every piece of art, today, a lot of photographers, let's not just call them photographers, let's call them artists, create base as a photography and then do digital arts. Now, that's a different form of art, right? Strictly speaking, within the realm of photography, you can do a whole lot of creative, you can take a lot of creative, you can take a lot of creative angles and create a picture that wasn't how you shot, but can be created during a post-processing. It's the way you do it. If you overdo it, you are going to get criticized, trolled, and a whole lot of things. If you do it correct, it is going to come out and people will wonder, wow. At the end of the day, if your picture can get that reaction by people saying, wow, how did he do it? That means you've reached somewhere, all right? Because if you show something and people say, ye to main bhi kar sakta hoon, it's like, you're not in the top 10% for sure. So you may not have a great future as a photographer. But if you're someone who consistently makes people saying, wow, how did you do it? Or wow, where did you do it? Or wow, I wish I could do that, is when you know that, that you're doing something that most people can't do. Now, either you're gifted or you have inculcated that, you've learned that, or you've practiced that. But that's what it is. So I'm just going to summarize this. Post-process photography is not what your camera shoots. At the end of the day, photography will be a combination of what you want your camera to shoot, and then you come back and process it to look like a final piece of art. All right. If you just want to take a picture and show it to the world, then that's a journalistic view. And journalists do that. If there's a rally on the road at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, they're going to go and take that picture. A landscape photographer is not going to go at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and take that picture. So, to your viewers, get over the myth or that post-processing is fake, not relevant, or is not true. It's on the contrary. If you're not post-processing and you're posting those dark images, extremely contrasty images, images which have a lot of grains, images which are not right sharpened, does not have the right white balances, or are not color corrected, then sorry, your photography is not complete. And at some point in time, you'll have to wake up to that realization. Okay?
Yeah. And that's how simply the magic is created in a photograph. Would that be correct to say?
See, I think creating a magic is a combination of two or three things. You can't go to a not so pretty area or place and then take a great picture and make it look great. To create a great image, you have to go to the right place. You have to wait for the right weather conditions. You have to probably go and do this over and over again. You have to also then click a great, technically right picture, come back and then correct it and process it in a proper way, right? So that's the combination of all of that is what will create a magic.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we got such a good answer, and I hope that it is going to help a lot of aspiring photographers for sure. So moving on to next, let's keep this photography aside. I went through your stories and I saw that you also write poetries. So yeah,
Once in a year, when I'm super
once
inspired,
in a
otherwise I
year.
don't. Once in a year.
But it does take a lot of emotions to write, and a lot of peace. And like, how do you do that? Do you
So
like
again,
it?
poetry is more like a doodle of mine. So photography could be a doodle of what I see, and then I try to create that in digital world. But writing is really all about being in a frame of mind, something which triggers a certain chain of thoughts, and then I just kind of write it down. Poetry, if I'm writing a poetry, it goes for over day 2 or 3 before I come up with the final version. So it starts with the first 2, 3 ideas. And I think I read this from, was it Mr. Javed Akhtar or was it with Mr. Gulzar? I don't remember. One of them, long ago, I read the interview and they said that in poetry, the first 2 lines are relatively easy. The third line takes an effort, but fourth onwards takes a real imagination and stuff. So I keep getting stuck there. So which is why I said I write once like a year. If there are a chain of thoughts that something triggers in my head, and then I scribble it down, I literally hand scribble it down, and then I work on it or find out for 1 or 2 days, and then that ends up becoming a poetry.
Yeah. Well, I just went through your poetries. They were good, and so I thought that you love to
Thank
write
you.
poetry.
No, I honestly, I don't have that kind of time anymore. And you need to be in a certain frame of mind, with peace of mind to write it. But my life is getting more and more cluttered as I'm moving forward in life. So those moments are very rare now, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Also, we would like to know if you've got other talents that are yet not shared with your fans.
The only, I wouldn't say talent, but I have time and again kind of
You
mentioned
like to
this
do
that,
something you like to do like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
If you really, so photography today is my profession, right? It started off my passion, hobby, and then moved into professional. When something moves into your profession as a career option, then you have a commitment towards it. You need to be, you're kind of married into it, and it's your rosy roti as they call it. So everything you do then revolves around it. But what always has moved me more than photography, and it is surprising a lot of people, has been golf. I've been a very avid golfer. It's like, put it this way, if I have a shoot tomorrow morning, whatever shoot that is, right, or wherever in the world I am, it's not going to give me sleepless night. I'm actually probably going to sleep through early and get up early to shoot. But if I'm playing golf the next morning, there are chances that I'm not going to sleep all night, because it just gets me so excited in my head. Not excited, it gets me in my head. I'm practicing the swings and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to, slice the ball tomorrow. I'm going to bring my swing from inside out, a lot of stuff. So golf is another thing that people probably don't know that I play, but it's something that really takes me on even today. So yeah, that's a small piece of
Okay.
information.
So yeah, we got to know one then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So next, I would like to ask about any instance you would like to share when you travel to any place of India and where you got stuck. Like, I'm asking only, inside India.
Stuck as in got literally
Yeah,
stuck,
you
couldn't
don't
move
want to
out.
come back. You felt so like you had a good
Yes.
time there, and you don't want to come, like you didn't want to come back then or anything like that.
Oh, you're saying in a good
Particularly,
way. In a good way, if I've been to a place and
obviously in a good way.
ah, okay, no,
Yeah.
no, it can happen. See, let me first answer what I was thinking you were asking, which is the challenges while traveling. Right? Traveling will not always go according to your plans. If you're traveling international, there will be missed flights, there will be missed connections, there will be long layovers, there's going to be jet lags on the other side. So a whole lot of challenges, right? And if you're stranded in an alien country, if you've missed your flight or if your luggage is left out, then you have those challenges. Even in India, you're traveling from one city to another, and there are a lot of things that can go wrong. And when I say wrong, it doesn't mean unfortunate. It just means those are something that you need to understand is a part of traveling. So, for example, you've gone to a place and you've spent 7 days and you want to come back. Now you are in a frame of mind that ab ghar jana hai aur mummy ke haath se khana khana hai. And then your flight gets cancelled. And it gets cancelled when you're all set to go. It just leaves us so frustrated, right? And then you try to do everything in your power to get home. And so to me, people have to understand that people who say they love traveling have to understand that traveling comes with its own challenges, its own set of setbacks, and its own plans that will get pivoted without your control. And so you need to understand and surrender to it. There's no point fighting a lost battle. So if the flight is cancelled or you miss flight or you've reached late, there's no point arguing with airline staff saying, Ki, nahi, mujhe bhej do, please bhej do. The next best thing is please accept it, okay? Now make arrangements. So do you have to stay back? Do you want to go to a friend's house? Do you want to book a new hotel? Or do you want to reschedule your flight? Whatever you want to do, get on with that decision. It's happened to me several times, happens all the time. The other part of the story you're saying is that, I go to a place and I don't want to come back. Happens all the time. We went to Kabini for 3 days. We extended to the 4th day. I went to Srinagar thinking it would be a 7-day trip. It became a 14 plus 1, 15-day trip. A lot of times, if I don't want to come back, I'll be very honest, unless until I have a pressing matter back at home, I actually extend it. So if I'm at a place, then my attitude is, I want to get it done. All right. So if I want to stay back, then there's something that's calling me to stay back. It means either I'm not done, either emotionally or work-wise or whatever that is, right? So I don't fight that. If I'm not done, then I will make arrangements to extend my stay. So if that's rescheduling my tickets, getting new bookings done, whatever that is, I get it done. But to your point, happens all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even I do love it, like to travel to a lot of places. And every time I'm like, no, I don't want to go back home.
Yeah, so but
I
in
don't
your
know
case,
why.
you're a student, so you got to come back. You have classes, right? So one of the
But
advantages.
see, it's like we are supposed to come back, but we don't want to come back.
Eventually, you will have to come back. And the way I would see that is, if you don't come back from that trip, then how are you going to make the next trip? So that trip has to end for you to take the next trip, correct? So it's a cycle.
Yeah,
If you
right.
go to a place, let's say you've been to, I don't know what's your favorite place, but let's say your favorite place is ABC, and you think, yeah, bas yahi hai, ab mujhe yahi rehna hai, right? How are you going to go to DEF? Then how are you going to go to GH, I, J, K, L, M, wherever you have to go next? So understand that every place that you visit will have its own experience. Hopefully all those experiences are great. It will make you want to stay longer. And that's a great thing. It tells you that you've had a great trip. But if you don't end that trip, then there is no next trip happening. So think of it like a cycle. Okay, so you got to end one, begin the other one.
Yeah, well, that was really insightful, and I'm going to just make sure that I do it.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
think about the next
yeah.
trip.
Yeah, it's on my mind. Okay. So moving on to next question. I've seen like a lot of your photographies, and what I found and what you usually tell to people that you're so connected with the nature, and you like to explore it, and that's why you got into this photography and the journey began and all those things. So, in short, you're a nature lover. You're so connected with the nature. So I would like to know if and like in the recent days, you must have heard the things that are happening against nature, the industrialization and everything. So we would like to know if you're a part of any initiative taken in against these the violations of protecting environment, something like that. Or if you
That's a
want to share any message regarding the protection of environment.
That's a very, very sensitive and debatable topic, all right? And there are various ways to look at and approach this. Now, when you talk about industrialization or you talk about urbanization, I honestly don't think people like you and I can influence that too much, because that is not a decision that we make. It's not a decision that few individuals make. It's a decision which is made by bureaucrats and, I wouldn't say politicians, but planners. If there's a new office coming up, new city coming up, new town coming up, it needs to be planned, because at the end of the day, if that doesn't happen, then a lot of growth and future is going to be in jeopardy. But to me, and I think I might just ruffle some feathers here, and please pardon if I go, against sentiments of some people. To me, a planned growth is the key. All right, it's the unplanned growth which is a problem. That's the issue number one. Now, arbitrarily giving licenses, arbitrarily allowing things to grow, arbitrarily allowing places to kind of balloon up is something that we have to watch for. But is it something that I can influence? I don't think. It's not a fight that I can fight at my level. That's one. Two is, the other part is, what is it I can do for nature, right? What is it that I can do in my own way to enhance, protect, and continue to nurture this gift that we've got? And that is something that we all have to really look inward into. And we all can do that in some capacity. It doesn't have to be at a national capacity. It doesn't have to be at a global capacity. If there's a global and national movement that you feel strongly about, you want to be a part of it, absolutely go ahead and do it. And it just doesn't have to be about nature. It can be for anything. It could be LGBT community. It could be about women's rights. It could be about everything, right? So anything that moves you like that. Back on the nature bit of it, right? What is it you can do to contribute to it? So one of the things that I get really tipped about is, you go to places where we go and photograph, people litter, right? Now, can I go and clean that up? I don't think, because there's 1.3 billion people. I pick this up, there's going to be 4 more litters here. What can I do in my capacity to, as I said, to do that better? So which means I and people with me and people around me at that point in time, I can educate them. What I've seen though is most of the committed nature lovers will never pollute it or pollute the environment, and they're principled enough to also tell people not to do it. But yes, within that power, if there are things that you can do, please go ahead and do it. So if there is a place near your city, your town, that is beautiful but is not getting, or is getting messed up by locals who visit there, or outsiders who come in and trash it and go, and if that's important to you, it's a great thing that you can start a movement, you can start a petition, or if you can even go beyond and work with your municipality there to start with some cleanliness or whatever that is, right? As far as I come, or as far as I go, what I always make sure, I have a very simple formula, right? I leave things the way I found them. And that doesn't mean I leave trash as trash, or I trash more. But let's take it in a larger context. I found this nature beautiful, I found this world beautiful, and that's all I see. So if I find something beautiful, untouched and beautiful and clean, then I want to make sure that I leave it like that for the next person to come and enjoy it. That's the only thing I can do.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So we had a short talk, you answered a lot of questions that we asked. So let's make the session let's have fun. And so for that, I prepared a short quick fire. And
Okay.
in this, yeah. And in this, I'll be putting forward 2 words, and you're supposed to choose one. And
Oh,
that too immediately.
okay.
Yeah, and make sure that you do not
I'm not
take a
thinking.
long. Yeah. Okay. So shall I begin with it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So ready, steady, go. The first is mountain or beaches.
Mountain.
Blue, green,
Blue.
landscape, portrait,
Landscape.
photography, traveling,
Traveling.
Almora, Bangalore.
Ooh, tough one. Bangalore.
Okay, Italy, Bali,
Italy.
Bobby Joshi, good shots.
Oh, definitely good choice.
Okay, okay. So, I guess my short quick fire is over. But if you would like to answer this question, so I've got one question. So I hope that we'll get an answer, and it's not like your rapid fire is over. Yeah. And the question is, could you tell us the opposite of selfie?
Hmm. I don't know. I've never thought. You've like completely stumped me. My mind suddenly went blank. It's like it doesn't happen to me. It doesn't happen to me. It's happened to me very rarely when my mind goes blank. Right now, opposite of selfie, groupie. I don't know. Can't think of it.
Well, I also Googled it and I didn't find the answer because of I was preparing this rapid fire round, so I thought that I would ask you. But
Oh no,
since
I'm not.
we've got less
Yeah,
time, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not a big fan of selfie anyway. So you will, other Instagrams